Well, we made it to Thursday, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Morning JOX here on JOX 94.5. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you for the next hour, keeping you abreast of everything going on in the world of sport. We had the NFL schedule reveal officially last night, so all of the teams go and show their social media prowess, their creativity. And just like every year, there's some that pretty good, some that are pretty bad, and then a lot that are just kind of in the middle. But you do have some intriguing matchups for certain. We know, kind of how things are going to go on Christmas Day. What are you going to get on Thanksgiving? When's the first Monday Night Football game going to be? We got all of that last night. So we are going to spend some time going through everything we learned from the NFL last night. We also went through and kind of broke down the easiest and the hardest schedules, at least on paper right now, in the NFL next season as well. So you have a lot of that going on. You had the Braves in action last night, had a couple more games of NBA postseason action, and we had some news out of the NBA draft combine, particularly involving a couple of players that we will all know very well from the state of Alabama this past season. So a lot to get to. And then, of course, we do have the next edition of our SEC Mount Rushmore coming your way today. We are doing Mississippi State, Hail State today. So we're kind of just sticking with the color scheme. We did Texas A&M yesterday. So we said, hey, let's just keep things maroon. Let's go to Mississippi State today. So we will get to that a little bit later in the show. Of course, our buddy Lewis already sitting in his list. Because Lewis is just, he wakes up, man, he's a cold-blooded killer. He's ready to go every single day here on the show, and we really appreciate that. But you can send in yours, 205-834-9450, your Mississippi State Mount Rushmore. We will get to those a little bit later in the show. And if you missed the show yesterday, we told you that tomorrow for Friday, going to spice it up a little bit. So we did Kentucky this week. We're doing Mississippi State today. Not saying these aren't wonderful programs, but we're going to do Tennessee tomorrow. I think that's going to be a fun
That'd be good.
I know you in particular are very excited for that one.
Yeah, I was a big Tennessee guy back in 2022. And
I thought you were going to say back in 2024.
Maybe once or twice during the season. But no, I think tomorrow's going to be fun. I think Mississippi State, when you actually look at some of the names that have come out of Mississippi State, you start to question, like, okay, so why didn't they have as much success as they did? It's only because one or two seasons they had one or two guys, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think there's, and we have the smartest listeners in the world, and I'm sure a lot of them are well aware, but I do think there are some guys that you're probably going to hear today and go, oh man, I forgot that they went to Mississippi State, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You go down, you look at some of the names that are on there, even just from the last 15 years or so, and you're like, yeah, I feel like Mississippi State maybe should have pieced together a couple more wins at a time or two. But we will certainly get to all of that. So we've had a lot of fun doing the Mount Rushmore with y'all, and we will continue on that path here today. But I do want to start off with the NFL and what happened last night as we had the NFL schedule reveal come down. And I know we talk about it all the time, but the NFL, they have it figured out in terms of finding a way to make every little thing that goes on with that league newsworthy and finding a way to have fun with it and kind of take the headlines away from whatever else is going on in the sports world. So we've had some of these games trickling out throughout the course of the week. We found out, for example, the Titans and Broncos, that's going to be, their first matchup with Cam Ward. We found that out a little bit earlier. We know that you're going to have the Cowboys and the Eagles. They're going to open up the season on that Thursday night. So we have had some details kind of find their way leaked out here over the last couple of days, but now we officially have all of the schedules. We know exactly how everything's going to play out. So we'll go through some of the highlights for you quickly if you missed it. So how about Christmas Day? The Christmas Day is becoming a big thing now. We know Netflix last year, the way that they did their broadcast there. I know a lot of people were a fan of that. I thought they handled it really well. I know a lot of people were concerned with how Netflix was going to handle live sports like that, but I thought they did a pretty good job overall. So you are going to have two more games on Netflix on Christmas Day this year. You're going to have at noon our time. These are all going to be Central Time. You're going to have the Commanders and the Cowboys. That'll be the first game you have on your Christmas Day slate. Then you're going to have Lions versus the Vikings at 3:30. So those are going to be the two games you have on Netflix. This is where things get a little conflicting. You also have a third game on Christmas Day, but that game is not on Netflix. That game is on Amazon Prime Video. So all the games that day are on streaming, but you're going to have to go between Netflix for the early games and then the primetime game. You're going to have to go to Amazon Prime, and that is going to be the Chiefs versus the Broncos. So I can just already see some people probably rolling their eyes that, okay, so it's bad enough it's on streaming, but now you're telling me I got to flip between two streaming services on Christmas Day to watch football. So where do we live in now?
It seems a lot. It seems pretty tedious. But if you are a Chiefs or an Eagles fan, and even a Cowboys fan, you've got a pretty interesting slate to the NFL season. I feel as though those three teams are, I'd say, forced in your face.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting discussion because all right, the Eagles make sense, right? You just won the Super Bowl, you're going to get a lot of primetime games. The Chiefs goes for its without speaking, right? We understand that one. The Cowboys, I would say it also goes without speaking because of the brand, but I do think you're kind of getting to a point now where, is it worth reconsidering some of those things just from the standpoint of, it's like I'll go back and I'll make the analogy of the NBA on Christmas Day and how they do some of their games and the stretch of time you had after Kobe was retired and before this kind of new era of the Lakers, and they were being played on Christmas Day, and they were terrible, but they were the Lakers, so they got put on Christmas Day, and nobody wanted to watch that. Does anybody want to watch the Cowboys on Christmas Day? I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you do, but I mean, am I crazy, Damian? It just feels like at this point, like I understand the brand. I understand why you're putting them in all these primetime slots, but does anybody really want to watch them? Like right now, this edition of the Cowboys, they're not very good.
That's kind of where I'm at too. It's okay. If we've truly, I know Dak got hurt last year, and I understand the star is so iconic that they still have this moniker of they're America's team. But if you kind of look at America now, it's why do we continue to have to watch the Cowboys? Because it's not going to lead to anything. Okay, they cover up our NFL regular season. We know we're going to get them in some big, some important games, but also we've watched the Cowboys absolutely throw up on themselves in a lot of these key moments. And of course, the Thanksgiving tradition with them and, the Detroit Lions, they'll play on Thanksgiving, but do we really have to watch Dak Prescott on Christmas? Do we have to?
Give him a year off. I'm not saying that we never have him on Christmas again.
Right, but it can be a rotating. Yeah. It can be a rotating schedule.
Or leave him on Thanksgiving. That's fine. But yeah, let's give that Christmas slot to someone else maybe. But yeah, I do think that's kind of an interesting discussion that you could have. I just whatever. I get it. It's the way that the world works. But yeah, those are going to be your primetime slots. But yeah, so that's what's going on Christmas. Again, you're going to have a triple header, Commanders, Cowboys, Lions, and Vikings, those two games on Netflix, and then Chiefs, Broncos on Amazon Prime that night. Coming up in week 2, so we know the Eagles are going to open up their Super Bowl defense against the Dallas Cowboys, speaking of the devil. But then in week 2, they are going to get a rematch against the Kansas City Chiefs, so that's going to be one of the biggest early season games there as the Chiefs and Eagles will do battle in Kansas City in the second week of the NFL season. Your first Monday Night Football game is going to be the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Chicago to take on Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. So that should be a good one there. And unfortunately, on the negative side of the schedule reveal, I know this one was hard for Damian. So we were just talking about the teams that are going to be on primetime a lot this year. There are 3 teams that do not have a single primetime game. No, not they have 1. No, they have 0. 0. You're watching these guys at 12 o'clock every week. Hey, consistent. Maybe they throw a 3:30 in there to give you a bone, but you're playing at 12. You're playing at 12, buddy. So get ready for it. But those 3 teams would be the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the New Orleans Saints.
Disrespect.
So bad, bad, and bad. It makes sense, but
No,
I'm sorry, Damien. I know that
no. Like the funny thing
had to be hard.
is outside of one Colts game that's going to be in the evening slot, the only reason why we're playing afternoon, like after 12 p.m., is because we're on the West Coast.
Mhm.
Like that is the only reason why we're not playing at noon pretty much every single week.
Well, they just wanted Cam Ward to be able to get in a routine, man, so he knows exactly when he needs to be at the stadium every Sunday, and it'll just make things things easier for him. So
Yeah, absolutely. But for the most part, I think 14 of the 17 games, you'll be able to catch us here, even on Jox 94.5. Taylor's ours are on the on the Titans radio network, and you can catch those games at noon. Pre-game at 11 o'clock. So I pretty much know what I'm doing as soon as church is out. Like, hey, I know where I'm going.
every week.
It's tough, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, maybe
It's all good.
Yeah, win some games this year, and maybe you get one primetime game next year. We'll see.
You never know. I will say this: last year, because we had to watch that Monday Night Football with Tyler Huntley taking on Will Levis. I feel like the NFL is kind of, they're punishing us for what performance we had last year when it was 12-9.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit. Like, I'll be honest, I know this is gonna make some people mad because we have a lot of Saints fans. I'm not really trying to watch the Saints that much next year.
Not trying to watch Spencer Rattler?
No.
Oh.
not really.
I thought you were an Oklahoma guy.
Same thing with Cleveland. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not a South Carolina guy, damn but yeah, I mean, I will say, and I understand they have a bigger brand, right, historically speaking, but I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, the Steelers are kind of in the same category as these other teams, right? These are the teams that really either don't have a quarterback, or in the Titans case, you have a promising one, but he's a rookie, right? And so it's like, man, I guess the Steelers just kind of get the benefit of the doubt because they're the Steelers. But sorry about that, Damien.
It's all good.
Yeah, so kind of putting a bow on this conversation here. As I said earlier, I did go through and try to break down who I thought had the easiest and hardest schedules, at least on paper right now, for the upcoming season. So for the easiest schedules, I think at least for me, the 49ers seem to have the easiest schedule, and they had a rough season last year, a lot of injuries. So that kind of makes sense, but they only have to play 4 of their 17 games are against teams that made the playoffs last year. So they have a very clear path to a bounce back season there for San Francisco. The Saints are also right there too. They only have 4 games against former playoff teams, but I think we'd all agree the 49ers are in a much better spot than the Saints, so that path should be easier for them. And you also have the New England Patriots, who now under Mike Vrabel, second year for Drake May, they only have 5 games against playoff contender or playoff teams from last year. So all of those teams with a pretty clear path. I saw a lot of people yesterday already kind of getting on the Patriots hype train a little bit for a wild card spot this upcoming season. And now for the other side of this, for the most difficult schedules, unsurprisingly, the Detroit Lions up there after going 15-2 last year. That's the reward you get when you're good. You play a difficult schedule the next year. They will play. So the 49ers are playing 4 games against former playoff teams. The Lions are playing 11.
And their road schedule is absolutely brutal.
Absolutely brutal. So, yeah, I think the Lions easily have the most difficult schedule, at least on paper, for next season. You also have the Giants. They have 10 games against playoff teams from last year, and then the Browns have 9. So the Lions, it makes sense. They were the best team in the regular season last year. That's what happens. But the Giants and the Browns, man, they kind of got...
They didn't ask for this.
They got done a little dirty last night with the way that their schedules worked out. But that's what you had there with the NFL schedule reveal. You did also have a little bit of fun on social media. So when we come back on the other side, we'll kind of talk about some of those. What were the highlights from, if you saw on Twitter, a lot of the little social media videos that they did. One of them even got deleted. The Colts had to delete theirs because too many people got offended by it. So if you missed that, I'm sorry, but it was quite funny. If you understood a lot of the little Easter eggs and jokes that they put in there, but some really cool ones there. We also had a big signing, big contract extension in the NFL yesterday as well, and want to get to what happened with the Braves last night as well. So all of that coming up on the other side. You're listening to Morning JOX here on JOX 94.5. 6:18. Welcome back in. Morning Jocks here on Jocks 94.5. Conrad and Damien here with you till we hand you off to McElroy and Kubick in the morning at 7 o'clock. Spending some time breaking down the NFL schedule reveal from last night, figuring out some of the marquee games coming up for the upcoming season, and teams always have a lot of fun with it on social media as well. But you did have some other news in the NFL yesterday, somebody that we are all familiar with here in these neck of the woods, and that would be one Derrick Henry, the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, as he gets paid yet again. Yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens announced that they have signed him to a 2-year, $30 million extension. So he was set to be a free agent after this upcoming year. So he will now be set up through 2027 there in Baltimore. And if you remember, before last year, when he went to the Ravens as a free agent, he signed a 2-year, $16 million deal. And all he did this past year was run for 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns, and average about 6 yards a carry as a 30-year-old. So he now signs the biggest contract ever for a running back over the age of 30. Very well deserved there for at least the next 3 years. He will be a Baltimore Raven. And just looking ahead a little bit to this upcoming season, Derrick Henry currently 19th on the NFL's all-time rushing list, 11,423 yards. He could move up to 10th this season. Tony Dorsett is in 10th place right now. He would need 1,300 yards to surpass him, which is certainly within reach for Derrick Henry if he stays healthy. But he is 7,000 yards shy of Emmett, so that one's gonna take a while. But at the end of this contract, he could very realistically, if he stays healthy and does what he's been doing the past few years, he'll be in the top 5 all time.
Yeah, as a Titans fan, it is painful to see.
Do you think Cam Ward would like to have Derrick Henry to hand it off to?
Any quarterback breathing would love to have Derrick Henry in the backfield, but Lamar Jackson has that benefit. But no, for Derrick Henry, it's well deserved. I think by the time Derrick Henry hangs it up, there's going to be a real, at least in my opinion, there's going to have to be a real conversation of him being one of the best, not just running backs, but one of the best players who have ever played the sport of football at his size and what he's been able to do. And, like you said, he's 11,000-yard rusher. About 10,000 of those came in the two-tone blue in Nashville, Tennessee. But
and I mean, even with the way his career, because I mean, like the way his career started, I mean, they didn't really use him.
Nope.
For the first 2-3 years of his career.
We had DeMarco Murray.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at his numbers now and you go, man, that's so impressive. You just kind of wonder, well, what if he'd been the starting running back for a couple more years in Tennessee, and what would we be talking about right now?
Yeah, and again, for somebody that's at the age of 30 and he's going to continue to age, he has shown no signs of slowing down. And when somebody is that big, even if he has to just become like the Jerome Bettis type, he's still going to eat up yards. If he falls forward, he gets 3 off the rip. So I think when you look at his career overall, the only thing he doesn't have is a championship. But when it comes to just individual talent and being like playing the running back position, people are going to have to start having discussions of, when you think of the running back position, Derrick Henry's name has to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and I think at least in the modern era, I mean, you would have to have him, Adrian Peterson, and I'd probably throw like LaDainian Tomlinson in there, and that would be that'd be a great list right there.
Yeah, and the thing is, for Derrick Henry, it's okay. They're like, oh well, he's not as versatile as Christian McCaffrey and a lot of these other running backs. He ain't got to be. You can literally have a 9-man box and still hand the ball to Derrick Henry and be on touchdown alert, because literally all he needs is a hole. Like, all he needs is for his offensive lineman to just create him some sort of space. He'll handle the rest.
Well, and the fact that he's out of his entire career in the NFL, he's only had one season where he had any sort of injury, like a serious injury. I mean, he's been the model of consistency. He's played in at least 15 games every year of his career, except for one in 2021 when he got hurt. And he still almost ran for 1,000 yards, and he only played in 8 games that year. So he's he's a beast. He's one of the very best to ever do it, as you said. And to watch him at Alabama and to think that guy could get even better than what he was there is pretty remarkable. So that's a little bit of news there for Derrick Henry as he gets a big extension there in Baltimore. But quickly, we were talking about the NFL schedule reveals. And just a couple of the highlights from social media, if you want to go check them out, if you didn't get to see them already. I did mention the Colts. You had the Indianapolis Colts. They did, again, I understand some people aren't going to get it necessarily, but it was like a Minecraft video essentially. But what they did in the video was they roasted every team that was on their schedule. So, for example, for the Dolphins, they had a Tyreek Hill swimming in the ocean and getting pulled over by the Coast Guard. Let's see. They had for Houston, they had a social media influencer like showing off, taking selfies, making fun of one of the girlfriends of one of the players on the Texans. What else did you have in there? There were so many that were. I mean, they didn't hold back. Like, oh no, the best one was they had the Chiefs, and you had Patrick Mahomes' dad boxing John Rocker. Yeah. And then they had Kermit the Frog come in to break it up as Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. It was awesome. But yeah, that one got deleted. Yeah. You can still go find it. Just search it on Twitter. Somebody, saved it and posted it again, but it got deleted. So that was certainly the controversial one yesterday, but it was very funny.
It was. Atlanta had a funny one too with the Mario Kart. Like I thought it was pretty entertaining. The Titans making it like a it was
like a medicine commercial.
It was pretty entertaining. And they were talking about they were going through each team that we have on the schedule, and they were like diarrhea, and it was the Kansas City
like
Chiefs
the side effects or whatever. Yeah.
That was very thought provoking.
Yes, no, that one was very clever. And I say the Titans do a good job. I've always been a fan. I know they want to mix it up every year, but I still think, one of the best ones ever was just when the Titans would go and ask random fans like to look at the logo and tell them who their opponent was going to be. And the answers that you got were always just so good because people didn't know what they were talking about. I also thought the Jaguars, now again, the Jaguars, this was one of those, if you know, you know. But what they did having Ashton Hall do their schedule reveal, which if you don't know who that is, if you've seen any of the videos of the dude who like sprints next to a G-Wagon in a Kevlar vest and then dunks his head in a bowl of ice water, and like that, he's talking about how that's his morning routine and just really over the top lifestyle. But he went viral on social media earlier this year. And so having him come and do the video, I thought that was a good pull. That was all right, yeah, somebody is in touch with what people are talking about on social media. So I thought that was really funny. And then I thought the Cardinals was interesting. So you have Mac Wilson, the former Alabama linebacker who now plays for the Cardinals. He came up with a rap song. He made up a song, and they made a music video for it, and the song was him announcing the schedule for the Cardinals. So I mean, I'm not going to be listening to the song in my free time, but in terms of a way to release the schedule, I thought it was creative and they kind of had fun with it. And it's not bad, Nick.
I actually like the Rams having Brenda Song because she actually knows.
Yeah, and she's a big Rams fan, and she knows ball. Yeah,
she knows ball. Hadn't seen her in a while too. She is aged very, very fine.
Yep, London Tipton. But yeah, no, that one I thought that one was really good. I like the Buccaneers. They had John Gruden kind of going through a box of, I guess, old memories from his time as the Bucs coach for each opponent, and him just like reliving through those memories and experiences. That was really good. And I mean, it's John Gruden, so he's always great. But yeah, I thought all of that was really well done. So another successful schedule reveal for the NFL, as they have always been quite good at that. All right, quickly now to the world of Major League Baseball. You did have the Atlanta Braves in action last night as they were taking on the Washington Nationals, the third game of their series there in Atlanta. And unfortunately for the Braves, just as soon as they get to 500, they now find themselves back below 500 as the Washington Nationals get a 5-4 victory over the Atlanta Braves last night. And it wasn't because of the starting pitching. Bryce Elder, he had another quality outing. He goes 6 strong innings, only gives up 1 run, 5 hits, strikes out 3. His ERA now down to 4.5 on the season. But unfortunately, you had a couple of errors late. You had a throwing error by Austin Riley. You had another error by De Los Santos, the relief pitcher. At one point, he had a night to forget, certainly, as he only gets 1 out, but he gives up a couple of hits, a couple of earned runs, walks another, has an error. So just kind of a disaster there late for the Atlanta Braves. And this is one that you're definitely going to kick yourself on, because if you're Atlanta, I mean, you were up 4-1 going into the seventh inning. Ozuna with an RBI double, Fairchild with a couple of RBIs early on in the game. So you had built yourself up a little bit of a lead, but then, as I said, a couple of errors don't go your way. De Los Santos comes in and kind of stinks it up a little bit, and you find yourself on the losing side of that one last night. So Braves lose 5-4 to the Washington Nationals. Final game of their 4-game series is coming up today. It's actually going to be a little bit of day ball. If you like a little day baseball, you're going to have first pitch there at 11:15. You can hear that over on JOX 2 100.5. So Braves and Nationals getting underway early this morning. So that's everything that you may have missed overnight in the world of the NFL, the world of Major League Baseball. We still have a little bit of basketball portal news to get to on the other side as well, but it's almost time. Mississippi State, Mount Rushmore. We're going to get to that on the other side as well. Keep sending yours in 205-834-9450. Who are the 4 greatest, or maybe just your 4 favorite Mississippi State Bulldogs of all time? We will share our list and get your list on the other side. You're listening to Morning Jocks on JOX 94.5. 6:33. Welcome back in. Morning Jocks here on Jocks 94.5. Conrad and Damian with you. About to get into the Mississippi State Mount Rushmore for college football. So many of you sending yours in already. You can continue to do so at 205-834-9450. And we are going to do Tennessee tomorrow as we send you off into another weekend. But before we do that, quickly, some quick notes from the NBA draft involving both LeBaron Philon, Tahad Pettiford, and actually Yaxel Lindeborg as well. So 3 guys. So we'll start off with LeBaron Philon. The news there yesterday, Jeff Borzello reporting from ESPN that LeBaron Philon is staying in the draft. That is, it doesn't matter what kind of grade he gets. If it's first round, second round, he's staying in the draft. And according to Philon, the door is shut on a return to Alabama. So he will be going to the NBA draft. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, the other 2, a little bit more up in the air. So Auburn's Tahad Pettiford, after the scrimmages yesterday there during the NBA draft combine and their evaluation process, a number of people saying Tahad Pettiford was the best player on the floor during the scrimmage that he was active in. And according to Tahad Pettiford, if he gets a guaranteed first round grade, then he's absolutely going to the draft, no questions asked. But if he gets a second round grade or doesn't get a guarantee for a first round selection, then he will have to strongly consider coming back to college. So maybe some good news there for Auburn, but early reports are that Tahad Pettiford's been one of the brightest stars early on in this NBA draft process. And then you also have Yaxel Lindeborg, who was part of the scrimmage yesterday as well. Reportedly started out a little slow, but as the scrimmage progressed, his size kind of took over and he ended up dominating a lot of the competition there. But he also said about his decision to go in the draft or come back, he said he's 50-50 on his decision. Quote, "I'm pretty even. I love Michigan, love the idea of going over there and developing, but the NBA is what everyone wants. I'm dead in the middle right now. It's hard." End quote. So that's a little bit of an update on some in-state guys. So LeBaron Philon definitely going to the NBA draft. Yaxel Lindeborg, Tahad Pettiford, I would say looking good for them just based on how they performed, that they would end up being a first-round pick, but still leaving the option open to come back to school. All right, it is time. The main event. Mount Rushmore time. Mississippi State. All right, let's start it off. Damien, give us a ring. You got the there we go. It only felt right to start off with the cowbell.
Hail State.
Before we get into it with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So I will start off at the top where I think a lot of people also started. The greatest quarterback, at least in my lifetime, for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, Dak Prescott. It couldn't be anyone else. What he did with Dan Mullen there, being the first team ever ranked number 1 overall in the college football playoff rankings. Remember that for trivia one day. He had such a fantastic career. He was an incredible player. We all know what he's done in the NFL. I know a lot of people maybe think he's a little overrated now, but there's no doubt that what he did when he was at Mississippi State, he was one of the very best to ever do it at Mississippi State, in my opinion. So Dak Prescott gets the first name on my Mount Rushmore. I'm also going to go with Jeffrey Simmons, an absolute dog on the defensive line. A little bit more recent. Again, you just go through and look at a lot of the defensive line talent that's coming out of Mississippi State in the last 10 to 15 years, and it's absolutely remarkable. So Jeffrey Simmons would go up there, and you know who I'm going to pair him with on that defensive line, Damien?
Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher Cox, baby. Absolutely an absolute monster. A little bit earlier on than Jeffrey Simmons and some of these other cats playing there back in the 2000s. But yeah, an absolute dog for Mississippi State. So I've got Dak Prescott, Jeffrey Simmons, Fletcher Cox. And then looking back on the offensive side of the ball, there are a few players that I had considered, but ultimately I went with Anthony Dixon, who is the leading rusher in Mississippi State history, both for a career as well as in a single season. And what he did in the early 2000s, you also got a great Nick Saban freakout courtesy of him and one of the runs that he had against Alabama back in 2007. I do believe that was in Saban's first year. So I would have him on there as well. A couple of honorable mentions that I'm sure we'll hear as well. Chris Jones, another beast up there on the defensive line. Montez Sweat,
yes, sir.
Another dog on the offensive or defensive line. And then I did throw Will Rogers in there as well, because when you look at the career passing numbers, he has all those records,
Air
but
raid, baby.
Dak, for what he did in his time and the offense he played in, clearly was the best. So that's mine. Dak Prescott, Jeffrey Simmons, Fletcher Cox, Anthony Dixon. Damian, where are you going for your Mississippi State Mount
We are
Rushmore?
very similar.
Okay.
I also have Dakota Prescott as well. He's my number one guy. I have Fletcher Cox, defensive lineman.
Yep.
I also have Jeffrey Simmons, and as a Tennessee Titans fan,
Well,
one of the best draft picks we've
I
ever
was
had
about to say.
in our history.
Got a little bias there. Yeah, that's all right.
Where I have a little difference, I have to shout out to the hometown buddy. He led the nation in sacks back in 2022. He also had multiple years of over 100 tackles. That would be one Nathaniel Watson. We call him Buki.
Yep.
And he's Maplesville home and grown, and he went to Mississippi State and absolutely
Friend of
balled
the
out.
show. We've had him on the show before.
Exactly. Now he's doing his thing with the Cleveland Browns, and when you talk to people from Mississippi State, I remember Zach Arnett a couple years ago at SEC Media Days, and I just talking ball, and I was like, "How about Buki Watson?" He kind of looked. He's like, "Oh, like you familiar with him?" I was like, "Man, we grew right down the street from each other.
Yep.
Yeah, I know him like the back of my hand, man. And gotta show some love to Buki Watson. He would be in my Mount Rushmore of Mississippi State football players. Honorable mention also Anthony Dixon. I have Will Rogers and Darius Slay.
Oh, Darius. Okay, very nice. Yep, very good one. He's still having a nice career for himself there in the NFL.
Chris Jones too, man. It's hard. Like that's
Chris Jones. If we were going based on what they had done in the NFL,
oh man,
I would probably replace Jeffrey Simmons with Chris. I would have him and Fletcher Cox on there.
Yeah, buddy. Like that's the thing about Mississippi State. Some of the names that they've had, it's how can you have this collection of talent and it takes a little bit more than there's just those guys on the field with you.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had dudes just maybe for 2 years at a time, or they're like 5 years apart from each other. And yes, they especially on the defensive side of the ball. And that's the difference between, think of the Alabamas, the Ole Misses when we were going through our Mount Rushmore. It was easy to rattle off offensive guys. Whereas Mississippi State, it kind of just starts in the trenches.
Yep.
It starts at the defensive line because of some of the talent that they've had over there in Starkville.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, yeah, they've been a force to be reckoned with, especially up front defensively here over the last decade or so. But a lot of great names, and we know a lot of y'all probably have some that we forgot about or didn't think of. So look forward to reading through all of yours as y'all continue to let them roll in on the courtesy text line there, 205-834-9450. So going to go take our final break, come back, and we're going to react to all of your Mount Rushmores of Mississippi State. A couple of you sitting in asking questions. We're not putting coaches on these. You can if you want to, but we haven't. So some people asking why particular coaches aren't on there. That is why. But if you want to have them on your Mount Rushmore, it's your list. So you can do as you please. But keep sending those in, 205-834-9450. We get your Mississippi State Mount Rushmores when we return on Morning JOX.
646 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order going over our Mount Rushmore for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Getting you set for the top of the hour with McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Let me tell you about our friends at Blue Chew. It's an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, Staxin in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets are performance enhancement for the bedroom, can help men gain extra confidence when it's time to perform. It's an online prescription service, so you don't have to worry about going to the doctor, having those awkward conversations, and no waiting in line in the pharmacy because it ships right to your door in discreet packaging. Let Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. I can hook you up for the freezy, y'all. Free, F-R-E-E. Go to bluechew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code JOX, that's J-O-X, at checkout. The only thing you have to pay for is the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. Promo code JOX to receive your first month free. And like I remind you every single day, just chew it and do it.
All right, getting to your text now on the Courtesy GMC text line. You've chimed in with your Mississippi State Mount Rushmores of college football. But quickly, someone did text us in. I'm glad you reminded me of this. But Auburn basketball, you did lose an assistant coach yesterday. It was announced that Chad Pruitt is going to step away from the program. And I can't think of a better reason for him to step away than what he is deciding to do. He released a statement on social media yesterday, and he said that he felt called by Christ to go and minister and to help lead a new ministry group. And so that is what he's going to do. He's going to walk away from 30 years of coaching and go try to lead others towards Christ. So I no complaints from me, man. If that's what you feel called to do, then I absolutely think that's what you need to be doing. And we certainly need more people like that who are going to put God first and try to spread his love to as many people as possible. So congratulations to Chad Pruitt on his decision. I know Auburn and the Auburn family will miss you and the contributions that he's made in his time there, but a certainly a greater calling in life than the game of basketball. We love sports, but it is not the end all be all. And good to see Chad Pruitt making that next step in his career. All right, now for your Mississippi State Mount Rushmores, we will go through all of these. I will try not to mispronounce anybody's name for this entire segment like I did yesterday. All right, Tim from Coleman. He goes, Dak Prescott, Montez Sweat, Chris Jones, and Fred Smoot. Honorable mentions for him would be Fletcher Cox, Jarius Norwood, and Eric Moulds. All right. Let's see. Mississippi Matt from New Jersey. He chimes in. He goes, Kent Hull, D.D. Lewis, Dak Prescott, Chris Jones.
Okay.
Can't knock that. All right, Teddy, he goes Montez Sweat, Fred Smoot, Dak Prescott, Fletcher Cox.
That's pretty good.
All right. Somebody says, y'all need to get off the Cowboys' backs. Well, y'all need to win some more games.
Oh.
Jamari from Talladega, he goes Dak Prescott, Darius Slay, Fred Ross, Josh Robinson. And he said, I heard y'all talking about the 1975 yesterday morning, and he sends in some of his favorite songs. So you're getting some more love on the rotation. I heard you playing this morning too.
I know bankers.
Let's see. Mike, he goes Dak, Anthony Dixon, Fletcher Cox, Will Rogers. All right.
Will Rogers.
Certainly can't hate on that. Let's see. Lewis chimes in and he goes Dak Prescott, Fred Smoot, Jarius Norwood, Fletcher Cox. He also adds, I know this is for players, but as a once young coach, Joe Lee Dunn, Jackie Sherrill, and Mike Leach were three guys that I studied and took a lot away from.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All great coaches there. Let's see. Drake says, isn't the bus in the Hall of Fame? Are you talking about Jerome Bettis? Because he is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what else we'd be talking about there, Drake, but if you're talking about him, he is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fanboy, he goes, as an Atlanta Falcons fan, the Falcons have 5 primetime games. Hope Michael Penix can ball out. Yep.
I think he's gonna be a dude.
I think he's gonna be pretty good as well.
Just find a way to throw it to Kyle Pitts, please.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Cliff chimes in with his Mount Rushmore. He goes Anthony Dixon, Dak Prescott, Fletcher Cox, Eric Moulds. There you go. Another great list there. John goes Montez Sweat, Dak Prescott, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay. Very good list there. A lot of Dak Prescotts, a lot of Fletcher Coxes. No big surprise there. Let's see. Tyler from Huntsville. He goes Fletcher Cox, Fred Smoot, Eric Moulds, Dak Prescott. Honorable mentions Will Rogers, and of course the Pirate Mike Leach.
R.I.P.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Let's see. Dexter chimes in. He goes Fred Smoot, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay, and Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes, sir.
He goes Honorable mention for Darren Williams, who was his teammate at Jacksonville State, who had transferred from Mississippi State. Okay. Steven, he chimes in with Fletcher Cox, Chris Jones, Dak Prescott, Eric Moulds. All right. Like that list. Let's see. Another one, Dak Prescott, Darius Slay, Eric Moulds, and Mike Leach. Very good one.
I love the fact that the Pirates getting his flag.
Absolutely. And much deserved.
Absolutely.
Much deserved. Randall says, yeah, I can't imagine doing a Mount Rushmore without Mike Leach on it. And I agree. If we were doing players and coaches all combined, I certainly think he would be on most of our list, if not everyone's. Let's see. Someone says Don Smith was the best Mississippi State player I've ever seen. Okay. Let's see. Jimmy says any Mississippi State ranking must include Pork Chop Womack. Gonna be honest, not familiar with his game, but I'll take your word for it. Bennett, our buddy Bennett from Birmingham, he chimes in. He goes, Dak Prescott, Montez Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, and Willie Gay Jr. Okay. New name in there. Someone chimes in. He says Keith Mixon would be up there for him. Brandon goes Dak Prescott, Fletcher Cox, Eric Moulds, Johnny Cooks. Okay. Let's see. Tommy here, he chimes in with Jeffrey Simmons, Chris Jones, Dak Prescott, and Kent Hull. All right, another love for quarterback there in Kent Hull. Let's see. Somebody says Sylvester Croom should be an honorable mention, but my four, this is Eric. He says my four are Dak Prescott, Fred Smoot, Jarius Norwood, and Fletcher Cox. All right. Another good list there. Oh, I can't read that last one, John Mack. I cannot read that last one, but I will read your Mount Rushmore. That was a great joke though, John Mack. Man, talk about Cassie. She was having a day yesterday. I'll just leave it at that. Boy. John Mack, he goes Dak Prescott, Eric Moulds, Johnny Cooks, and Kent Hull. He says Jackie Sherrill is the best coach Mississippi State ever had. Don't say Dan Mullen. That guy's an idiot.
You got him number one, dog. You can't tell the history of the college football playoff rankings.
It starts with Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. They were the number one team. Now they went to Alabama.
Then they rolled into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, they got smacked.
Yeah, that was my freshman year of college. That was a fun game to be at.
But they were number one in the nation. That's crazy.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, my first two games as a student at Alabama were Texas A&M when Alabama beat them 59-0, and then when Mississippi State came in as the number one team in the country, and they
beat sleep.
They were not the number one team in the country after they left. All right, Cody chimes in. He goes Dak Prescott, Chris Jones, Montez Sweat, Fletcher Cox, and then Mike Leach for honorable mention. All right. Let's see. Bobby goes Dak Prescott, Michael Van Buren, and Les Miles, and Xavier Thomas, because those last three guys are all tied to LSU now. And Les Miles because he handed Mississippi State Dak Prescott by recruiting him as a tight end instead of a quarterback.
Wow. I didn't know that story.
I did not know that story either, but yeah, that was a little bit of an oversight perhaps on the behalf of Les Miles. But what do you expect from a guy that eats grass, right? You know, your expectations can only be so high.
They can only be so high.
Yeah. And then Houston chimes in. He says there's only two worthy. Give them the whole Mount Rushmore, and it would be Mike Leach and Dak Prescott.
Yeah. But the thing is, you got to realize who Dak's head coach was, too.
And you certainly have to give him credit for what he was. Look, Dan Mullen knows his way around a quarterback, right? He knows how to get the most out of the quarterback position. He may not like recruiting. So we'll see how this experiment goes at UNLV. It's certainly going to be interesting, but
tomorrow's going to be fun.
Tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. So appreciate y'all sending all yours in again. Tomorrow we are going to do the Tennessee Volunteers. So we're going to get to see Damian's true colors. We're back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Tennessee Mount Rushmore on